One of the things that we really strive to apply is there's a lesson to be learned, and even when you mess up. Through the design process, I mean, we had a limited budget that we were able to apply. We had to come up with a lot of creative solutions and processes.
So right now, the only way people find out about it is if the police come and tell you?
Probably.
All right.
Like, I mean, but it is an option for all residents of Indianapolis. The number one job they have to do is spend time with the people and making sure they have all the resources and knowledge to do their job.
It's interesting compared to a lot of companies where I've seen the culture is to foster that competitive nature, to try and get more productivity or better results. And you take the opposite approach.
Military analogy, slow is steady, steady is
Fast, yeah.
And that is the concept around design. So we start off slow. It takes us a little bit longer to get to drawings. But when we start coming up with concepts, those drawings are going to match the intent of what that space is.
All right, today on the On Center podcast, we're joined by Luke Leising, founder and president of Guidon Design, Army veteran, Eagle Scout, and a purpose-driven leader committed to improving lives through design. Under his leadership, Guidon has delivered hundreds of civic, federal, and military projects, earned recognition as one of Indiana's best places to work, and achieved the state's first LEED, or LED, version 4 platinum building. We'll talk about how Luke's experiences in scouting and the military shaped his leadership style, Guidon's mission to empower communities, and the challenges of sustainable design and the value of true collaboration. Whether you're an architect, engineer, contractor, or simply passionate about the built environment, this episode offers practical insights on leading, designing, and building with purpose. How are you doing today?
Doing great.
Awesome. Thanks for being on my podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. As you can tell by the questions I sent you that I've done a little bit of digging into your past. We have a little bit in common, being both military and being both business owners. So I'm looking forward to this. So from Eagle Scout to architect, I'm interested in that. Your journey has taken you from being an Eagle Scout and an Army Ranger to founding and leading Guidon. How have those early leadership experiences from scouting to the military shaped your personal design philosophy and the way you lead an architecture firm today?
So there's a lot in that question, right? I have a unique background, and I really think what it has taught me is that I'm constantly learning, right? Constantly trying to figure out new and better ways to do things. I think that obviously it started when I was a young kid, but the military really pulled that out of me. I was trying to find ways just to do my job better and how to interact with people better, and we really have brought that to Guidon. So we have a culture here that's all about continual improvement, and sometimes that's hard, right? It's hey, when we finish something, whether it's good or bad, how can we get better from it? And some of the best wins we've ever had come from a loss. You mess something up, and one of the things that we really strive to apply is there's a lesson to be learned, and even when you mess up, right? And the trick is to not mess up the same way again,
right?
Right? And so when we have a conversation with clients, when we have a big pursuit that we're going after, and we lose that opportunity, we sit back, come back together. You'll like this term. We use the term here at Guidon, AAR. Familiar with that, right?
Yeah.
So for anyone in the Army would be familiar, it's an after-action review. I don't think many people at Guidon really understand what an after-action event is, but what we do is we'd all huddle up after something big happened and say, what happened? What were we trying to do? What actually happened? And what lessons can we learn from it, right? And so you take that attitude and you apply it day in and day out. Our organization's constantly just getting a little better at what we do, and I think that's a differentiator for us. And I know for me personally, that type of hard work and constantly just trying to get better at whether it's the way you communicate, the way you lead, the way you put out proposals, the way you execute your work, that's kind of what we focus on.
So you guys actually use the term after action review?
Yeah, we do.
That's amazing.
We use AAR, and like I said, I don't think anyone really knows. No, it's actually a combat action is what we're talking about. We use it we just finished a really large hospital project, and we just finished the design, and we did a whole large AAR process where we actually had an outside facilitator come in, and really what we're trying to focus on is how do we do this better the next time?
That's awesome. I love that. Guidon's motto is improve lives and empower people through design. How do you translate that purpose into your daily work and design decisions? And can you share an example of a project where you made a design choice that powerfully reflected this mission and created a positive impact on the community?
Well, improving lives and empowering people is really important about the way we pick the work that we do. So Guidon, we often say we work on complex buildings, but almost all of the building types that we do have a direct impact to people's lives. A lot of our work is healthcare, right? And if we can allow the patients that go to these buildings better access to healthcare, better outcomes through higher quality, whether that's a hospital or an oncologist office or any of those areas, that's where we're able to improve their lives. So we work on a lot of complex laboratory type work where they're literally trying to create new research and improve people's lives. But we also work on affordable housing projects, right? Which are projects just trying to help people find better access to housing, we have a project we're working on right now. It's a food pantry, and that's trying to solve some of the challenges that are pretty present in society: lack of food, lack of access to food, lack of access to housing. But we apply that like a little test of is this project really going to have the ability to improve lives and empower people? As we select the types of work we do, we're very intentional about that, and that's kind of a guiding light for us that has really stuck true. So that's how we apply that in a day-to-day practice. I think your second part was, do you have an example of where that came to bear? It's hard to point at actually one design decision, but I can give you a project or two examples. Okay. So we were fortunate enough a number of years ago, the city of Indianapolis was doing a new criminal justice center. And we were actually looking at a major part of that is a jail, right? And we elected that that's not the type of project that meets like our definition of how you improve lives and empower people.
Sure.
But the opportunity came up to pursue, and we won this, and we were able to do this project. It's called an assessment and intervention center here in Indianapolis. And so the idea is the police show up at, who knows, it might be a domestic disturbance abuse issue or some other incident. And a lot of times today, the people, there might be substance abuse involved. There's a personal conflict. They're like, it would be better to get this person into some type of treatment for the substance abuse issues and get care for that and take them out of that situation. The other option is the police officers will often say, hey, if I have to come back that night, somebody's probably going to jail.
Sure.
The Assessment Intervention Center here in Indianapolis provides the police say, hey, if you're ready to get some care, I got a place for you to go, and it doesn't cost you anything. And so we were able to design this building. When we started, they were like, hey, we want to house 60 people. We don't actually know how we want to do that. They had an older building that they had repurposed for that function. And so we sat down with them and really started to understand how patients can come and go. And these are our citizens and residents. They're not inmates. At any point, they can walk out of the facility. You walk out a couple times, you might not be able to come back, but it's a place that they could go to get care, to get right, try to breaking that cycle of recidivism that keeps people from, hey, you did something wrong, you're in jail now. Hey, you have a hard time finding a job, you don't have a job, you do something wrong, you're back in jail, and just keep that cycle. Trying to break that before it starts and get people care. And so we designed that whole building really focused around that mission about how do you better care for people and get them on the right track. And so that was a great example of a project that really is about improving lives and empowering people through the design process. I mean, we had a limited budget that we were able to apply. We had to come up with a lot of creative solutions and processes, always worrying about safety and security and all those other areas. So that's a type of a project that I think was really, really touched on our why, our mission.
I didn't even know that existed. I think that's cool.
It did, and honestly, I think it's a story that it's better to tell so that more residents are aware. You know, if there's somebody that has those challenges, there are options out there, and too often people think, oh, I have to pay for these things. I mean, I applaud the city putting that option in place.
So right now, the only way people find out about it is if the police come and tell you?
Probably.
All right.
Like, I mean, but it is an option for all residents of Indianapolis, but it's not like it's heavily publicized. Mm-hmm. They only have a certain amount of capacity. But really, people go there, and the majority of them, they try to find them a residential treatment facility for substance abuse or whatever. And a lot of it is mental health challenges, behavioral health challenges. And so a lot of those issues, I feel like behavioral health, housing, mental health, food insecurity, all of those come together, unfortunately, too often in our city.
That was a good answer to that question. Thank you. That's pretty cool. All right, Guidon has been recognized as one of Indiana's best places to work multiple times, and you've said that the awesome team we've built, quote, gives you the greatest sense of accomplishment. What is your leadership approach to cultivating such a strong and supportive team culture, besides the AARs? And are there any specific traditions or stories, maybe involving zip lines or other adventures, that illustrate how you keep your team motivated and connected?
Those are great questions. And leadership it's a tough thing to just package into a ball, right?
Agreed.
I can list off, hey, these are the types of things we do, and I'll try to cover on some of them. Our leadership approach really starts with personal connection, candor, transparency, right? We are very sincere when we bring somebody onto the Guidon team that we're like, what is it that you really want to do? I ask that at everyone in an interview because what we're looking for is, if there's a way I could get you to do the thing you're most passionate about that we can do here, you're going to be happier, we're going to be happier, everyone's going to be able to move in a good direction. Sure. And so that takes some candor, it takes some, and some transparency, and it also takes some hard conversations. A willingness to have hard conversations is kind of a benchmark here, so that, and it all comes down to, for our leaders, the number one job they have to do is spend time with the people and making sure they have all the resources and knowledge to do their job. So we do these meetings called one-on-ones. Too often than not, people never talk to their boss about what's important. And so our one-on-one meetings, every supervisor talks to every one of their employees every other week. And a sit-down one-on-one conversation and just, what are you doing? What are you going to do in the future? What resources, what help do you need to get done, training, any of those things. And we found that level of communication allows our people to really understand where they're going. Part of those conversations so that they can say, hey, boss, I really would like to do this in the future. Okay, well, maybe we could get you to go there. I've had 3 people leave us to start new companies, and I've had a conversation with all of them before they did it. And they were like, hey, I want to do this. If that's what they want to do, then that's great. That's the best thing for them. And we honestly supported them, and they all made a slow transition out, and it's been great for them. It helps us because if we try to keep them here and lock them into what we're doing, it's not going to work. They're not going to be as passionate about it. It's not what they're focused on. So candor, transparency, and just being open and honest with where the company wants to go and where our people want to go, I think that's kind of one of the number one things. And what that creates is a culture that people feel supported. Mm-hmm. And I
can see that.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing is we try not to compete with each other. There's a lot of competition in the world. I am probably one of the more competitive people. My family will tell me this. I'm one of the more competitive people around. And I don't need to compete. We don't need to compete with each other. We got plenty of things to go compete on out in the world. And so we build a team where we can support each other. People can come and ask questions. They're happy to help them because their success is not dependent on you as a person. This I learned from the Army. Your success is what your team can do. Like the leader, while you might get some accolades here or there, really the success is when everyone gets up, the whole unit goes out and does something awesome and comes back and they do it together.
That's interesting compared to a lot of companies where I've seen the culture is to foster that competitive nature, to try and get more productivity or better results. And you take the opposite approach.
Well, I mean, we are highly competitive, but we're competitive with our competitors.
That's fair.
So, I mean, we're a unique firm that we do architecture and engineering and all those disciplines right here. And so we have about 8 different disciplines. And you could easily, and I've seen this at other companies, where this engineering department discipline, they compete with the other one and they're trying to get better fees or multipliers or whatever. And we really strive to make them work together. And it's awesome when our architects say, can we use our own engineers? We like it when we use our own engineers better. And that's the type of relationship you want. And it takes a lot of commitment to do that. We put systems in place that really focus on the long term in order to do it. Some of the things that the fun things we do around here, we have an employee day, right? And so we take one day a year, we just did it. We all went out to Fort Bend We rented a shelter out there. We had horseback riding and games, and people went mountain biking and euchre tournaments, and like a whole day of just really building a team as one. We do that every year. We have a family day where we're going to Indy 11 game and get to know everyone's family on a personal basis. Mm-hmm. So we do some of those things, like really just to kind of build us together. But culture's built slow over time, and you can do a lot to ruin it. You just got to be very intentional. So.
Yeah, very cool. All right, you're both a licensed architect and engineer, and you emphasize designing creative and cost-effective solutions. How does that multidisciplinary background influence your approach to projects? And do you have a philosophy on balancing bold design ideas with technical and budget constraints? Perhaps from a project where you had to reconcile visionary concepts with real-world practicalities.
Yeah, so we do that. Balancing those. I'll start at the back. Balancing those, we do that every day. We are designing some very complex buildings that really have to be right. Our clients have a lot of rules. They have a lot of requirements, and they hire firms like us because they're like, hey, this is going to be a problem if this operating room isn't operating properly, right? So that is a constant challenge. I do have a unique background seeing it from both sides. And so what that led me to do is create a firm that started off without prioritizing architecture or engineering. And so we talk about that competitive nature. That's a key part of it. There is two real halves of our company, and that architects and engineers, but we merge them together pretty seamlessly. And so having that background is probably key. I joke that I'm the butt of all the design table jokes, like they all talk about the architects or the engineers, and
you get both sides.
On both sides. So being intentional about that is one of the answers. Did I answer that question?
Yeah, I think it was great. Thank you. All right, Guidon elevates communities through the design and development of its projects. When you take on civic projects like public libraries, community centers, or civic infrastructure, how do you ensure the design truly serves and uplifts the community that it's in specifically? And can you share a story of a civic project where community needs or feedback significantly helped shape the final design?
Yeah, so when it comes to any of our clients, civic, public, no different. We have a process. We call it our first. We really focus on the first 15% of the design, and what we're trying to get right there is not jump in and sketch something beautiful up and say this would be your vision. This would be awesome, because candidly, you can do that, and people see a great sketch and think, oh, that'll be great. But before we start drawing, we really spend time to understand what our users need, right? So if that's a public library, it's the people who are going in the space. If it is a hospital, it's the patients, it's the staff, it's the people that are going to be in those buildings. And we take a lot of time to understand how's the best way they want to live and be in those spaces. And so once we understand that, there's a military analogy, slow is steady, steady is fast.
Yeah.
And that is the concept around design. So we start off slow. It takes us a little bit longer to get to drawings. But when we start coming up with concepts, those drawings are going to match the intent of what that space is. And if we do that right, we find that when we get to the later design, we don't miss things. We don't, in a hospital, you're not, oh, we don't have a room to store the medicines. Oh, now we have to carve it out. We have to give up other rooms. We have to sacrifice things to redo the design. And so if we go slow and steady at the beginning, we get all those details and we fully understand, and we can go fast at the end. And so we apply that in a design process, and really that helps us get the users right. So on a civic project, just like any project, we start out early, and in that early phase, we document what are the goals, what's the vision of this. And then at defined points along the process, we pull those out and say, are we meeting the vision, right? Because when you get into the details, you can start losing track of the big vision, right? And so if at every point along the process, you make sure you're accomplishing the vision, end of the day, usually the client gets really happy because we're accomplishing that vision.
So there's definitely, or should I say obviously, a lot fewer revision requests because of that intentionality to get at the beginning?
So I think we've proven the idea that if we follow the process right, it leads to less changes in construction, better cost control, more seamless project. I mean, we just had a hospital client. We're just finishing construction, and his comment was, I have to say, construction really didn't go wrong. Everything went well. I'm amazed. And it was really surprising to hear him say that, because I feel like they're used to it going wrong, right? And so when we have a good contractor, a good design, it's a renovation of an existing building, and we caught all the surprises, and there really wasn't any big shakeup, and you get to the end, and we're ready for ribbon cutting, and we're under budget. I mean, that's what the clients get really excited about. And we really, in our process, is designed to do that. It takes some time. It takes some dedication.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you. As a service-disabled veteran-owned firm, you've completed hundreds of federal and military projects. How does your own military background inform the way you design for military bases or veterans facilities? And what unique considerations or responsibilities come with creating spaces for service members and veterans? Can you give any examples?
Yeah, so I had the unfortunate experience this February of visiting the VA hospital emergency department, which is not something I really want to go do again. But the whole time I'm there, I'm actually looking at it as an architect going, how can we do this better? How can we revisit this space? I mean, I've gotten care in some of the spaces that I've designed. And so as we look at those, this drives my wife crazy, because when we were having a child, she's like, will you and the doctor stop talking about the design of the room? But that, I mean, that's where my passion is. That's what we live. We live in a built space. I'm constantly looking at ways to do that. And I think our whole team is. And so we look at it from a perspective of how to take that care, how to improve those lives and empower those people to get better health, to get better care, live a better life. It sounds very lofty, but I mean, we had the chance to design a dialysis unit at a VA hospital.
Okay.
And so if anyone ever has got a chemotherapy or dialysis, most providers, most private doctors, you want a cube of space, higher walls, a nice view, but you want privacy. You want to be able to sit there and get your care. Well, by talking to veterans, what we realized is those veterans, they want to talk to each other.
Sure.
Right? Like there's a camaraderie that they have that the average patient doesn't exactly have. So we actually designed the dialysis space. There's some private areas, but a lot of them are shared so that they can actually talk to each other. So there can be that dialogue back and forth. And so they find themselves going back to get treatment every Tuesday. They know that Steve and Joe are going to be in that space, and they're going to tell their stories, right? And they're going to be able to share some of that experience. And there's different environments. So that's a space that if we were to propose that on a private side, they'd be like, that's wrong. Our patients won't want that. That'll be weird. That's what the veterans seem to enjoy. And so designing spaces for them is a little unique. And for me, having that background, I mean, it fills a niche of mine. Many people that left the military have that little bit of a regret, like, hey, I was doing a job. Many of us, we were still at war when we left the service, and our buddies are out there doing a job that we were supposed to be helping them with. And so you'll feel like you left somebody behind at some level. And so the ability of going back and working for those clients again makes me feel like I'm able to get back to that group.
I can see that. That's cool. Yeah, I'm sitting here imagining when you're talking about them wanting to, I mean, that's the first thing that popped into my head when you're talking about the privacy. I'm like, yeah, these guys want to tell us other stories. It's just, you got that instant bonding from that experience. All right, sustainability is clearly a priority for you. Guidon even aimed for near net zero energy in its own office, achieving Indiana's first LEED V4 version 4 platinum building. How do ambitious green goals like that influence your approach to design on other projects? And what challenges have you encountered in pushing sustainable design? And can you share a success story where a focus on sustainability significantly improved the outcome of a project?
Yeah, so sustainability is something that I personally believe in. I believe that we want to be a wise steward of all of our resources, and those resources are energy, water, air, money, all of those. And we just need to be smart in how we apply them. We at Guidon apply approach. We apply practical sustainability. We've even trademarked that because when we design facilities, we want to drive our sustainability goals based off those clients' needs, right? Some clients, like when we designed this office, energy use was one, and access to daylight were two of the big key drivers, right? We wanted good views and good daylight. We wanted to reduce our energy bill, and so we made design decisions to enable that. And we have other clients that they might say, "Hey, indoor air quality of our people and staff, that's the number one priority," and so we make decisions to provide that as the focus. Energy, reduced operating costs, that's obviously a big factor for everyone, and so we're constantly manipulating or constantly trying to make design decisions to give that client what those goals and visions are. And so we talked earlier about defining goals in the project. We try to find sustainability goals, right? And if the sustainability goal is to reduce operating costs, we'll try to do it that way. If it's to improve access to nature, we'll do that way. Architecture is beautiful in that you can cover it in 900,000 different directions, and it's really just making the right decisions to give the clients what they're looking for. You asked about, what was this?
I'd say if you had an example where the focus on sustainability significantly improved the outcome of the project.
Yeah, so we've had the opportunity of working on quite a number of projects, and there's a recent project that we're doing right now is for Marion County and their new public health lab. And we're really focusing on a key component for this client is views and daylight. Their existing lab for 20 plus years has been in a basement. They've never really had windows. They are now moving to a new building, and their staff are really like, hey, we want windows. We want to be able to see out. We want views. We also have some security concerns, and the types of things they do in this building it's complex. It's the monkeypox virus that has presented itself. They're the ones studying that, those type of things. So level of security and visibility is a concern. And so we were able to create a space inside the building on the second floor that's actually open to the outside air. It's a private courtyard. It's a break room, and it's that focus on light and daylight has created a space that, the client's really excited, and we were able to do it without a huge added cost. And we really think it's going to be kind of a focal point for the entire building, but it's trying to accomplish some of their sustainability goals, get more daylight, better views, better access to nature, all of those into a building without putting a lot of money into it. And so by actually not building space there, we were able to do it more effectively. I think the cost is pretty manageable too.
Guidon often works on design build projects that require tight integration between architects, engineers, and contractors. Your team is known for a collaborative, multidisciplinary approach. How has embracing design build and working side by side with builders early on changed the way that you design and deliver projects? Can you describe an experience where close collaboration in the design build setting solved a problem or led to a better result than the traditional process?
Yeah, so my background, I worked throughout the country, and one of the firms I was with out in Colorado was an integrated design build firm. And so what that firm really focused on is trying to get the best from both the construction and the design side and apply them in mostly healthcare settings. And so here at Guidon, we strive to do that as well. We work on a wide range of projects. Not all of ours are design build, but a number of them are. And to what we have to do on a design build project is not keep the cost in mind. And when we are designing, as clients ask us for changes, adjustments, hey, we want more of this, less of this, we have to have the active conversation of the cost. Because what's unique about design build is we're not just trying to design the perfect project for the client, but we're trying to design it at the price that the client wants, right? So while it's all the client's decision as to what budget they have and what needs they have for a project, getting there is a team effort. And so one of the least favorite things I have in our construction industry is the fighting about cost, the pointing of fingers of, well, you did this, or you should be this, or this should cost less. And so what I love about a design build background is when the team's together and they're putting ideas on the table and vetting those ideas and saying, okay, well, here's the cost impact. Let's go this route because this will be more effective. Or we can build it cleaner and simpler and faster, and so that'll cost us a little less just because it's quicker. And so that collaboration, not just here within Guidon, which I love that when it happens here, but when we can collaborate with the owner and the builder all at the same table, that's where some really magic can happen. And from a design perspective, we can really leverage some great ideas. So we recently just finished the design, and it's a design build for Indian Health Service. This is a tribal clinic out in Oregon, which is pretty unique. And so the original process came through. They were going to expand. And when we got in there and realized that this is Western Oregon, there's a heavy snow load in that area, and that wasn't accounted for in the original concepts. And so they have snow possibly drifting up to 10 feet high. The way it was designed, it was going to cost a ton of money to upgrade the structure to support all this snow. And so what we did is came up with an alternative version, and the structural engineers and the architects and the client and the builder all worked together to come up with a solution that wouldn't allow for so much drifting. We were able to use a lot less steel, reduce a lot of that material cost. We gave the client really everything they wanted in the program, but still within their budget. And so we looked like we went from a major cost overrun to getting them all back to where they wanted. And the collaboration around it was great. And at the end of the day, everyone feels good about the solution they came up with.
So you take all the back and forth that could potentially happen after the design process and put that in the design process to make things more efficient.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
So we didn't, we're not having a bust when you have a bid, right? A hard bid where all the numbers come in and, we're $100,000 over, $1 million over, $5 million over. What are we going to do? How do we change things to do that? We're actively working on the price as we come along so that they are aware of where we sit, and we're making a commitment to deliver this project at their budget. So there's some great synergy when it can happen that way.
That sounds like a more efficient way to do things. Why doesn't everybody do it that way?
Well, there's procurement challenges, right? And and then there's also a level of trust too. When we're talking about public-private projects, there's a level of public bid nature. The design build rules are a little bit different. When they're done right, it's great. But if they're used just to get the price down, then you start losing some of the value that you get to add. So there's pros and cons in the right setting. That's a whole nother conversation. What's the best way to deliver a project? And there's pros and cons on all sides.
Got it. So not an easy answer. Understood. Your firm was founded by veterans who understand how to listen and collaborate. And many of your projects have multiple stakeholders in the public sector. What is your strategy for engaging clients and end users in the design process, especially on complex civic or federal projects? And perhaps share an example?
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to one of the things we talked about earlier.
Okay.
It's focusing on that first 15% of that design. Really taking the time to slowly understand all the needs and steadily move through that process so that we can move fast through the back end. So that is our tried and true process, and whether it's public project or a private project, that is really the trick for us. And like we talked earlier, it takes a lot of diligence to not skip forward. You think you're moving, when somebody's pushing you to move faster, you think it might be faster, and then when you have to come back and redo things, it slows the whole process down. So, and then what was the second part?
The second part was perhaps you can share an example of how gathering input from diverse stakeholders guided a process to success.
So I talked earlier about the Assessment and Intervention Center. And so one of the things that we had to do is talk to the local community. And so this was the southeast side of Indianapolis, sat down with a number of their community development corporations and community stakeholders. And the original design for that building was one that was a design I personally really loved. But the feedback that we got from those users is it was along Crooked Creek, and they wanted a connection to nature. They wanted a connection to that waterway. What was unique about that site, it was bringing back a a contaminated waterway and bringing it back. We're going to put a trail along it. They're going to remediate a lot of the contamination that was in that creek. They're really trying to bring it back. And so, so through a lot of that public meeting, we voluntarily kind of threw out our design and came back with a different material palette, really trying to acknowledge the river. We represented the creek. We actually represented a map of the creek on the side of the building. And so that feedback and that change, with the community engagement, I think it was great. I think it was really acknowledged that what their concerns were and what they wanted and integrated that into the design.
Well, thank you for that answer. That was good. On a lighter note, we heard about your team's thrilling zipline outing and how you even joked about parachuting for next time. Outside of architecture, what do you do to recharge or find inspiration, whether it's an extreme hobby, a creative pursuit, or a simple daily ritual? Tell us something people might not know about you and how it influences your outlook as a leader and a designer.
Well, I'm active. So I find a release through movement. So whether that is, hitting the gym, whether that's kayaking, whether that's mountain biking, just being outdoors in general is really where I find that it allows my mind to go to a different place. It allows me to recharge my own batteries. And so, I strive to do that on most days at one level or another. Something that somebody might not know about me. And so about 5 years ago, me and a group of guys, we picked up water polo as a sport.
Really?
Which is not a sport many people play.
No, I wouldn't have guessed.
And so all summer long, Thursday evenings, we could be found playing water polo. And it is the most fun and the hardest exercise that I personally have done most of the time. So I'm usually pretty exhausted after that.
So when they do that in the Olympics, I actually find it pretty fun to watch. Is it more fun to actually do it than to watch it?
It's way more fun to do.
Really?
It's full contact. My wife doesn't really think that it's a great sport because she thinks we're just trying to beat each other up. But I do think that there's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot of camaraderie too. We play it as a pickup sport, so you never know who's your teammates, and we're all picking teams. It's a great experience, and to combine that with a phenomenal workout is always a good thing.
That sounds like it. That was the last question. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thanks.